bounce. I have done it up fairly tight. It was very loose. And it's very tricky to get it to stay in there.
Hi, I'm Tangles. This is my garage and this is my car. As you can see, it's now the next day. I just left all this to set overnight. So let's peel this stuff off and see if it all holds together now. And then do the other side. Okay, as you can see here, this gap opened up a little bit. So, and as you know, figured out last night, this masking tape's not sufficient to hold the stuff in place because of the resin has dissolved the adhesive on it, but it's probably close enough. You know, this is a fan shroud. This is not a highly, you know, accurate thing. This is just a fan shroud. So I broke this away. I just used the razor blade to get down beside the bar to break it away where it was joined. So yeah, and now they're stuck on there. I should have done this side when I did the back side at the same time. But now, yeah, just rinse and repeat and glass up those sides, and then we'll clean it up and put it in. Okay, all done. Glassed on the back side. Glassed on the back side. All around. So yeah, just gotta wait for it to set and clean it up, and she's good to go. I never did get the thermostat to the thermofan to come on, excuse me, at a higher temperature, so I'll put the car back together and take it for a run and do that. I noticed a leak or a drop of oil here, or a little bit of oil coming from the diff. I've given it a wipe and a clean up, and it appears as though it is coming out of here. Where do I need to put the camera to see that? There we go. Out of here. Now I've already nipped it up. I was thinking I'd have to pull the bloody thing out, but these are 1/2-inch drives. If you put this down for a second. You put it in here. There we go. There's the end. There it is. That's really hard to see because I've got the light behind where I want to go with the camera. This is, you know, a bit of a, there we go, a little bit of a Frankenstein. I've got an extension bar running into a universal into another extension bar, and that is the angle of operation. And I'll put the breaker bar on that. And there's still a drip coming from it, so I'm going to tighten it up a little bit more. So, you know, this is the sort of thing. Bounce. I have done it up fairly tight. It was very loose. And it's very tricky to get it to stay in there and get everything to stay together. Okay, so that's fairly tight now. I'm hoping that oil is actually just what's been squeezed out of the thread from doing it up, but I'll give that a quick wipe. Oh god, pain in the ass. Yeah, I was thinking I was at least have to drop the exhaust out of the way, but grabbed a couple of unis and extension bars and have a bit of a play. I managed to find a solution to get onto that. Oh, it's been leaking quite a lot by the look of it. Oh, it's just all the dirt and shit stuck to it, so that's the oil on the ground. I don't think that's a concern, that volume of diff oil, but if it keeps leaking it will be. Well, test drive done. What you can hear there, I assume you can hear it, is the fan working, the electric fan. I took it for a drive up a mountain. It reached 82 degrees by the top and the fan was on. I coasted down the mountain, it was 78 degrees when I was at the bottom, the fan was off. Now, 81 and it's on, so it's coming on at pretty much 80 degrees, which is what I wanted. I wouldn't mind having a bit higher in winter, so I might adjust it later, but it's November now and lucky not to see 30 degrees every day, so cooling's a good thing. You also hear it on now because I'm using the turbo timer to keep the ignition power on. Because it's on the ignition circuit. The power is on the ignition circuit, so for the switch, not for the fans, but for the switch, the temperature switch. So the temperature switch doesn't have power unless the ignition's on. Therefore it doesn't send a signal and complete the circuit for the relays to then turn on the main power to then power the fan. So yeah, I'd really wish that was powered instead of on the ignition circuit, or just accessories instead of ignition. But you know, it's not the worst thing in the world. I can do that. I can use the turbo timer to have it blow for a minute or two afterwards when it gets hot. So happy days, all works. Okay, so giving it an oil change at the moment. Now I'm going to give it a flush with this Penrod oil. Literally I'm just going to run it for 10 minutes and then dump it out, just to flush everything out. I'll leave that filter in it for the flush, and then I'll change the filter and put the 10/10ths, which is over there in that blue drum, in for competition use. Now, interesting thing though, this K&N air filter here with a nut on the end of it. I imagine that nut is 24mm when it's put on there, which is, I think it's this one, yeah, 24. That's too small. My next socket size is 27. Now you say, well, if it's 24 it should fit. There's a very thick coat of, I'm going to say powder coat, whatever they coat it with. It's very, very thick. So 27 is too big, 24 is too small. What fits on it, bearing in mind this is something I'm throwing away, 1 inch socket seems to fit on it. If I can't get it out with that, then I will use my tool for removing those, but it's just a bit hard to get in there. It'd be easier if I can get that socket on an end. But yeah, just interesting that the K&N air filter has got, I've got to use a 1 inch. I don't think it's designed to be 1 inch, I think it's designed to be 24mm. Maybe it's 25, because I don't have one, but who makes anything that's 25? Yeah, spinner's only go up to 19, so can't cross check with that. So this is the finished result. But an hour of filing. This is not perfect, but it is solid and it will work. You know, important to shape around this stuff and make sure that you follow the existing contours, because these things aren't there just for show. There'll be something running through there, and obviously that's got to go and recess all the way into something. So all the burrs and crap that was on the inside, the flat surfaces and all the edges are taken down to suit the plastic behind them. There's bulk thickness in it though, where I deemed that I think I can get away with it. So I've left as much on where I can and taken everything back the minimum amount where I have to take it back. And I can't see why that won't work. Okay, I've got the oil in there without changing the oil filter. I'll do that once I'm finished with the cooling system. That'll be the last thing I do. So draining coolant out right now. So what I did is I put the additive in, ran it with the heater on, so it opens up the heater core. That allows it to fully flush, and I'm going to then flush it again with some demineralised water, and do that a couple of times to flush out all the muck. And then, as part of fitting the fan shroud, I've got to take the radiator out anyway. So I'll take the radiator out, fit the fan and flush it out, you know, out the lawn or something, out of the way, and then refit it with the fan shroud. Hopefully, that's sort of the plan. Then the cooling system will be up to spec for me, ready to run this weekend. That's the plan anyway. We all know that my plans just don't work, so stay tuned to see what I've overlooked or forgotten or misplaced to have it be an absolute disaster. Okay, we're all done. I didn't show anything about the fan shroud going in because it's just installing a fan shroud. I did it with the radiator. You can take the fan off and pull it out with the fan, or put it in with the fan, but because I pulled the radiator out and flushed it last night, then I put it in, you know, so I sat the shroud in there and put it over the fan, slobbed the radiator in behind it, then attached the shroud, and didn't do it right and broke this little bit because I was trying to force stuff. And then this morning slipped, you know, everything aligned perfectly in like 5 seconds, and it slipped straight into place. So just be patient, unlike me. Yeah, make sure you reconnect your hoses. Bleeding the system has been very painful and difficult to get all the air out. I've had it jacked right up at the front and squeezing this and forcing coolant in there and so on and so forth. So a good tip, one thing is you get the front high size of vents, because the plenums here are higher than, and you've got coolant running through the plenum, also the turbo's got coolant running through it, so you've got to get this above those to make sure no air stays in there, so that the air can get worked out. The other thing is leave your heater on. That's part of your flushing, you should do that, but also leave it on while you're bleeding, so as the air in the heater core gets pumped out as well over time. The heater will probably stay on today. I'll probably take the car for another 2 or 3 little trips. I've taken it for 1 and the temperature stabilised at 81. Like, there's still a little bit of air in the system, so I'll, you know, let it cool. I'll top up the coolant, take it for a drive. So, but while it's hot now, I'm going to drop this oil out that I put in it 2 days ago, and put the 10/10s in. So that's just my flush oil. That's, you know, it's always going to be thrown out, despite the fact that it's, you know, good oil. It was on special. It was only like 30 bucks a bottle. Now, I know some people that don't pay 30 bucks a bottle for their, you know, normal oil, but whatever. Certain things you can buy cheap stuff. I'm all for cheap stuff and bargains where it doesn't have a negative effect, or where the negative effect is either irrelevant or you can mitigate it doing something else that's low cost. But in the case of the oil and an internal combustion engine, a performance car with a turbo, the oil cools the turbo and lubricates the turbo, helps to cool and lubricate the engine. Obviously the coolant also cools, but the oil cools as well. The oil does do cooling. Has to, you know, put up with a lot in a car like this, so I do put good oil in it. Yeah. So yeah, engine oil is something I'll tend to just spend money on, and not shortcut on engine oil, but shortcut on other things, like, you know, like recycling this old fan shroud and recycling this AC fan for a thermo fan. I don't want to go and buy one. I've got those, so I'll recycle those. That's me being tight and cheap. But certain things I won't recycle, or obviously I'm not talking about recycling all. Certain things I want to save money on, certain things I'm willing to pay top dollar. Alright, so time to change this oil. Alright, test driven, it's all working fine now. I know the air's out of the coolant system because there's no air in here, and I know there's no air in there because the thermofan's working, because the sensor that's in there is encased in the water or coolant. The temp is 81 and it was on when I got home, so that's perfect. I'll double check the oil and coolant levels when it's cold, just to make sure. Obviously I've put oil in it, checked it, topped it up, checked it, 5 minutes apart, ran it, so everything had oil in it. Let it cool, let it drain back a little bit. Don't let it go all the way cold, because as a mechanic told me, you should do it after it's been run, because in its running condition, oil is in the turbo and oil is up in the galleries. So while you don't want all the oil up there, you want some oil up there. So yeah, there's debate around that, but I figure checking it after it's been run is going to be closer to its operating conditions. And when the car had a low mount turbo, if there was oil in the turbo, it's below the level. It's sitting at that level. Now it's up high, that oil's going to run back. So yeah, it might give you a false reading. Anyway, do your own research on that. But yeah, everything's working. So yeah, I'll just recheck the fluid levels tomorrow or tonight. I topped up the brake fluid. Not that anything's leaking. I don't know where it's gone. And checking the coolant reservoir. It's tip top at the moment. So yeah, all good.